you hitchhiked across U.S. for 70 days when you were 19.
Right.
Tell the story of that.
Well, this sort of connects to what I was talking about with the boredom of school and these Common Core classes. So after my first year of school, where I lived in the dorms, like a old school dormitory building at a school in New Orleans called Loyola University, I wanted to just do something. I felt so bored. I was working for the school newspaper for that whole first year. It was called The Maroon, and I didn't have the ability to write my own stories. Like I had to defer to an older editor, and they would give me stories to write about, and they were all about like on-campus happenings, like the Pope visits New Orleans, or glass recycling to be restored in the French Quarter, or hoverboards banned on campus due to safety concerns. And it just kind of felt like, all right, well, I kind of wanted to be a gonzo reporter. I'm not sure if working my way up through the traditional newsroom hierarchy is going to get me to that point. So I started reading a bunch of old hobo literature, like post-World War II vagabonding stuff. And there was this book called Vagabonding in America by an old hobo named Ed Byrne. And I read this, and it just basically, obviously some of it was outdated. They had stuff in there like the hobo code, like, oh, this moniker on the side of a fence means this person has free soup or something like that. They didn't have stuff like that. But what it did
That's great.
It told me about train stop towns like Dunsmuir and, places in Montana where there was a friendly attitude toward drifters, and that still persists from the 60s and 70s to this day, even though, in my opinion, movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre have ruined hitchhiking culture in America because now everyone thinks you're going to, decapitate them if they pick you up. So after my final day of courses at Loyola, I literally left all of my belongings inside my dorm and took the streetcar to the Greyhound station, got a one-way ticket to Baton Rouge, and I was like, I'm going to hitchhike across the whole country back to Seattle with no money. And that was the plan, and it worked out.
I love it.
Yeah,
I traveled across the United States before in similar kind of plan. Because
were you on the Silver Dog?
So
It's the Greyhound bus.
Greyhound is pretty nice.
That's a step above hitchhiking.
Yeah, that's way better than hitchhiking.
Hitchhiking, Greyhound, Amtrak, airline.
Yeah, Amtrak, no, that's elitist.
What's in between Greyhound and Amtrak? A car. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a car.
It's a car,
a shitty car.
Okay, cool.
I lived in a shitty car.
You lived in a car?
Yeah, when I was
nice.
driving across the United States. Yeah.
Solo?
With a friend, some solo,
and
I would I would eat cold soup.
I love cold soup.
Yeah.
What I like is the cold chickpeas in a can. You get the water out and just dump them into your mouth.
Yeah,
those are good. Beef jerky, Kind bars. Kind bars are really good for the road.
Yeah, I mean all of that is great, but too much of it is not great. Like too much cold soup, not great. Too much beef jerky.
So what was the route you took? Was it Chicago across or was it Philadelphia across?
Philadelphia across.
To LA or where?
San Diego's where we ended up, but it was a zigzagging, went up to Chicago and then all the way down to Texas.
So you went Philly through Appalachia up to the Midwest.
Yep.
Did you cut over like through the Southwest down to San Diego?
No. Went straight down to Texas, all the way down to the Midwest. So like.
But did you cut from Texas west through New Mexico and Arizona to get to San Diego?
Yeah.
That is the best road trip place. Interstate 40, like Albuquerque, Flagstaff, Vegas, Kingman, the Mojave Desert, Yuma, doesn't get better.
Yeah, I mean, and you're kids, so you don't care, and you were throwing caution to the wind, and I met some crazy, crazy people.
It gives me some sanity, like whenever I'm feeling kind of out of control or, like bummed out. I just remembered that the road is still out there. The open road never goes anywhere, and it's kind of like I see like an invisible door in the corner of the room all the time that makes me more comfortable because I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, if I'm bummed out, I can go hit the road, and I'm sure there's going to be a fun time ahead.
Yeah, get that Greyhound ticket and go.
I would say Silver Dog half because sometimes I got to ride the dog when no one will pick me up. There's some places in the country where no one's going to pick you up.
Yeah.
Kansas, Missouri, they're not going to do it.
Maybe you're not charming enough. You thought about that?
I was 19, fresh, clean shaven.
Yeah.
I was pretty charming, I'd say.
All right.
But the older you get, the harder it is to hitchhike because they think you're like an escaped convict or some type of like psycho wanderer. And some of these people are like what we call punishers. It's people who never stop talking. And so they see someone hitchhiking and they're like, yes, I'm going to talk at this person.
Yeah.
And you can tell their eyes are wide. They're like, what's up? And you're like, oh, shit. So it's 6 hours of just like, oh, cool. Nice. Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
You're right. I like people that are comfortable in silence.
Yeah. But then that also raises the question, are they about to kill me? You know what I mean?
I think that's a you problem, not a.
You know what's funny is almost everybody who picked me up when I was hitchhiking
Yeah.
was like a day laborer. Like it was almost all Mexican day laborers who picked me up.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think that like in some places down there, that's a typical thing to do. Hitchhike to work. A lot of people don't have cars, but they still have to get to their jobs. So a lot of people ask me, "Hey, where should I drop you off? Where's your job at?" And I'm like, "My job is to explore," and they were down with it.
See, like for me, it was really easy because you just say like I'm traveling across the United States, and I think people love that idea and they want to help. They romanticize because they also have that invisible door. Everybody has that invisible door, and I just want to go.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
it can anchor you a bit just to remind you that every pattern that I've fallen into is voluntary and it's for my own stability and mental health.
Well, that's why I'm like renting everything and I'm making sure like tomorrow I can just go. I gave away everything I owned twice in my life. Just very like, I'm ready to go tonight. Let's go.
What's the hardest item you've had to part with in this experience?
There's nothing.
You've never had a material object that was really hard to let go of?
No.
So you'd give that watch to somebody if it meant...
No, you're right. You're right. That's probably the only... I've never had to let go of that, though.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I own. This means a lot to me, but everything else... But then again, listen, because, okay, this watch is given to me by Rogan, who's become a close friend. But like whenever I romanticize the notion that this watch means a lot to me, he's like, don't worry about it. I'll just get you the same one again.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn it.
It's a pretty sick ass gift, though.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I'm not usually a gift guy, but you know, when somebody you look up to kind of gives you a thing, it's a nice little symbol of of that relationship. So it's nice. But other than that, no. But even this, like, whatever. The relationship is what matters. The human is what matters, not the...
I agree 100%.
You had something like this?
Not really. I mean, there was a hard drive that I lost that had all of my like childhood pictures on it and stuff like that I think about all the time because I left it on a train. And like certain memories, you think about it and you just get pissed off. I just think to myself, someone has that somewhere. Like I have dreams about reuniting with the hard drive.
You and Hunter Biden have a similar kind of dream.
I don't think he wants to reunite with that one.
Okay.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, you know, all he did was smoke crack, right? Or was there more stuff going on?
I think there's prostitutes involved.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I think you got to look into it.
I think I have to look into it too.
I don't know. Was Kerouac, Jack Kerouac, somebody that was an inspiration at all in this road trip? Did you even know who that is? The Beat Generation?
I didn't know who it was. And then after I did ultimately I wrote a book about my hitchhiking experience years later. And everyone was like, have you read On the Road? And then On the Road, I probably heard the title of that book every day at least 10 times for 2 years. And I'm sure Kerouac is a great guy. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the Beat Generation.
It's a great book. It's you read it or no?
I refuse to read it. People even have gifted it to me, been like, "Hey, man, you're gonna love this one." And I'm like, "Is that On the Road?" People have given me a book with wrapping paper on it, and they're like, "This is right at your alley." I was like, "That's fucking On the Road, isn't it?" And then,
give you a different cover.
Yeah, no, I'm like anything but that. But I'm sure it's a great book. It's just the comparison thing drives me crazy. But big respect to Kerouac. Would never speak down on anyone in the Beat Generation.
What are some interesting moments you remember from those 70 days?
Man, there was so much. I mean, getting mistaken for a gay prostitute on my first hitchhiking ride in Louisiana was pretty funny.
Where did you come from and where did you go?
Well, I mean, the journey began in Baton Rouge, and the first destination was Houston, which is about 4.5 hours west on Interstate 10. So I'm in Crowley, Louisiana. I'm on the side of the road, and I guess this was a cruising truck stop. It was known for being a place where male lot lizards would go to procure clients. And I was there.
Lot lizards are...
It's a derogatory term in trucker culture for a prostitute who hangs out at the Loves or Pilot Flying J. Large interstate truck stops. Now, trucker culture, as it once was, is pretty much finished because of the live stream cameras they have inside of the trucks now. So you can't snort Sudafed or pick up anybody. You can't even pick up a hitchhiker or you get fired.
Killed all the romance.
Yeah, definitely. The old school outlaw trucker lifestyle, unless you're an owner operator who's not even in a union, which is like a real cowboy way to haul loads, you can't do that.
You were mistaken for a lot lizard.
Mistaken for a lot lizard by a small man from Honduras with a spiky leather jacket covered in studs.
Nice.
Didn't speak any English, But, I thought he was just, a nice guy. And then he pulled over at there's private theaters in the South where they have confessional booths set up, and they have 3 channels, and people go in there and,
It's porn?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People go in there and, please themselves. Right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I thought he was taking me to one of those. And I was like, all right, cool, man. Yeah. Like, if this guy wants to go jerk off, I'm just going to wait in the car. It's all good. I don't discriminate. But then, I was like, he buys a booth for me. And I'm like, okay,
it's nice.
I'm not really in the mood to watch porn with this random guy. So he gets in the same booth as me, and he starts jerking off right next to me. And I'm like, oh man, like, I don't think this is chill. I'm like, dude, can you stop? Like, can you stop jacking off? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, I thought this is what you want to do. Like, I have money for you. Like, what's up? Yeah. And I was like, oh no, I'm just a regular guy. Yeah. He was super cool about it. He started laughing. He's like, oh, my bad, man. I thought you were, selling something. I said, no. And he said, oh, it's all good. And he gave me a ride all the way to Houston.
That's great.
Yeah, we talked about anything except that for the rest of the car ride.
That's great. They just rolled with it. Oh, sorry about that.
I mean, I had about a foot and a half on this guy, so I wasn't too scared. I also had like a knife in my pocket, but I didn't want to stab him, especially not at a place like that.
And you were still, that didn't like leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Well, I figured that can't happen again. It can't keep happening. So I was like, all right, if I got this out of the way the first ride, the following rides are going to be spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, who among us have not been mistaken for a lot lizard? Yeah.
It's a fact. You heard it here first.
What else? What some interesting, beautiful people that you've met?
Well, I use the app Couchsurfing to find places to stay.
I remember Couchsurfing.
Now you can only submit like 5 Couchsurfing requests a day, unless you're a premium member, which means you also host people.
Wait, Couchsurfing's still around?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, nice.
But it's evolved obviously into a different thing.
Airbnb is a kind of competitor to that, right?
Couchsurfing is free though.
Right.
So Couchsurfing, they call it like the CS community. So basically there'd be these like Couchsurfing superhosts in different cities. Like there was one in Santa Fe, this firefighter dude who had like 15 other couch surfers there chilling.
Nice.
So I would do it everywhere. A lot of them were Catholics, so it was their way of giving back. A lot of them were nudists. And so I didn't realize that there's a small little section at the bottom of someone's Couchsurfing profile that says clothing optional.
Yes.
And that means if you go there, I thought it meant like it's cool if you walk to the bathroom in your underwear. No, if you go there, everyone's going to be butt naked. Mm-hmm. So I made that mistake a few times. Not that I'm anti-nudist, but I didn't want to, I wasn't ready to take that leap of faith. And it was just great. Couchsurfing hosts were amazing.
Yeah.
That was just great. It was this constant thing where I felt like, wow, people are so welcoming. I'm not having to pay them $1 for this experience.
Yeah, I love Couchsurfing. Yeah. For me being an introvert, just crashing on a person's couch, being essentially forced into a great conversation is great.
Yeah. The one thing that gets exhausting about hitchhiking is constantly thanking people, being in like sort of constant superficial gratitude everywhere all the time. Like, oh, thanks for letting me sleep on your couch. Thanks for the food.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I wanted to live in an RV later in life is to avoid having to constantly live in this like, thanks so much type of frequency, because it's exhausting to constantly, hey man, thanks.
I think the shallowness of that interaction is exhausting, not just the thanks.
Yeah, if it was a true favor, of course I love giving people gratitude for that. But just this thing where everyone who picks you up is, you get 8 rides a day, you're like thanking 8 people a day like they're the second coming of Jesus. You start to feel a little bit debased.
What'd you learn about people from that journey? That's your first time really kind of going into it.
The American public is just so kind overall. I mean, they're so like embracing depending on who you are. And specifically though, the Christian family people of the US who drive in minivans and have that Phish sticker on the back where it's like Jesus Phish, and then they have the family sticker, where each member of the family is a stick figure. Those people never picked me up and would flip me off with their whole family. Sometimes they would throw full Dr. Peppers at me as a family while I stood on the side of the road.
As a family, together.
They would yell shit like, go to hell, hippie, when I was on the side of the road. And so it's weird that the most charitable Christian American family values people never gave me any charity or even conversation. They were antagonizing me and saw me as like a hippie left over from the 60s who needed to go to work, go to Vietnam. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But the people who really extended a hand to me is people on the margins.
Yeah.
People working on seasonal visas, people whose cars have, less than a quarter tank left, people struggling with addiction who saw me struggling, or at least they thought that I was because they assumed I was hitchhiking, not out of adventure, but because I had no car, and were willing to sacrifice their day almost sometimes to take me exactly where I needed to go.
That's beautiful, man. I've had similar kind of experience that people who are struggling the most are the ones who are willing to help you when you're struggling.
Yeah.
There's people like in religious contexts and other kind of communities that just judge others because they've kind of constructed a value system where they're better than others because of that value system. Mm-hmm. And that actually has a cascade that forces you to actually be kind of a dick.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. It's so true. Do you think about like morality and religion a lot?
Yeah. I've been to certain parts of the world where religion is really a big part of life. I'm just always skeptical about tribes of people that believe a thing and they believe they're better than others because they believe that thing. That could be nations, that could be religions.
Yeah.
And I mean, in Ukraine and in Russia, I've seen a lot of hate towards the other.
Yeah.
And that hate, I'm always very skeptical of, because it could be used by powerful people to direct that hate, just so the powerful people can maintain power and get money, this kind of stuff.
It's a scary thing to see how easy it is for high up political people to mobilize the hate of just the average working person, and can almost convince them to sabotage their own countrymen who they share more in common with than the politician they look up to, just to advance the agenda of one party. That's what we're seeing now.